Hello, this is Jeff Bearden, but most people know me as the Giant Warrior. In Mexico, they knew me as Gigante Guerrero. So please join me next on the Aldrich Collection.
Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Aldrich y les doy la bienvenida a mi canal de Aldrich Collection. En esta ocasión les tengo preparado algo muy especial, ya que les estaré mostrando esta figura del luchador llamado Jeff Bearden, mejor conocido en el argot luchístico como The Giant Warrior, el guerrero gigante, aquel personaje que visitaría tierras aztecas en la década de los años 90 y tuviera grandes enfrentamientos con el señor Canek y el señor Dos Caras. Pero para ello cambiaremos un poco la dinámica de este programa, ya que en esta ocasión les traigo una entrevista exclusiva que yo mismo le realicé al señor Bearden, quien amablemente nos platicó de su carrera luchística y su paso a través de los Estados Unidos, México, Japón y Puerto Rico. Así que sin más preámbulo, empecemos con esta entrevista. ¿Qué tal, señor Jeff? Antes que nada, muchas gracias por aceptar esta entrevista y para dar inicio con esta plática, ¿podrá indicarnos de dónde es usted originario?
Jose, thanks for having me. I grew up in Amarillo, Texas. I guess I'm just technically a true Texan at heart.
En México lo conocimos con el personaje de Giant Warrior y nos impresionó mucho su altura. ¿Podrá indicarnos cuál es su estatura oficial?
Yeah, a lot of people always wanted to ask me what my height was. I was billed in Mexico a lot at 2 meters 20, which is like 7'2", but I'm actually only 7 foot, which makes me 2'13".
Platíquenos un poco de cómo fueron sus inicios en la lucha libre. ¿Quiénes lo inspiraron para ser luchador profesional?
You know, my inspiration for wrestling is that really kind of came pretty easy. I was probably 6 years old when I started watching it on television. My parents probably took me to my first match when I was 10, and then we moved to Amarillo, Texas and stuff from another town in Texas. And it was during that time and stuff that I was going to school with all of Dory Funk Jr.'s kids. So I used to talk to Dory Funk and his brother Terry and Dick Murdoch and a lot of those guys and stuff because we had a big territory that surrounded, that was based in Amarillo, Texas. So I got to meet a lot of the wrestlers that came through there. And then, of course, when I was going to school with all of Dory Funk Jr.'s kids, my dad was actually his son's football coach. So he left me 2 tickets for the wrestling matches every week, whether I used them or I didn't. So they were probably the biggest inspirations for me coming in to be a professional wrestler.
¿Podría hablarnos un poco acerca de sus profesores y en dónde debutó como luchador profesional?
My debut and stuff, I was trained by Dory Funk Jr. and Dick Murdoch, which were, great wrestlers, great Texas legends. They were international stars. I debuted my first match April of 1987. I was working for Jim Crockett Promotions, and I was wrestling as the cowboy character and stuff, Butch Masters.
¿Tiene algún significado en especial la pintura que usted utiliza en su rostro? Suponemos que es un símbolo de guerra o algo así.
When I was in Mexico and was wrestling as Giant Warrior, the makeup for me was kind of like war paint. I always associated it, kind of with things I'd seen through history, the American Indians and things like that. So that was really my meaning for it. I changed my designs up several times in the beginning, and then I kind of settled on what I called my War Eagle, which was the design and stuff I used for probably 7-8 more years. So that's the meaning and stuff behind my makeup.
Para el público mexicano, los luchadores son considerados como superhéroes. ¿Podrá indicarnos qué opinión tiene usted acerca de la lucha libre mexicana y cuál considera usted que serían las principales diferencias con el estilo de lucha norteamericana?
I've wrestled and stuff around the world. And I guess when I first started working on the international stuff was when I started coming to Mexico. And I always loved wrestling in Mexico. I mean, the fans there were just so explosive, but it was a completely different style than what I was accustomed to. It was a lot more high-flying and more acrobatic than what I was used to seeing in the States. So it took me a little while to get used to that. I came to appreciate the style. I mean, the things that the guys could do, some of the the flying that they used to do from between ropes and off of ropes and off of corners and stuff would often amaze me. Probably the main difference between American style wrestling and the Mexican style wrestling is through it they're more acrobatic. With us, things tend to be a little more solid in America. So that was really where I see as a big difference. Well, as I said, so the style of stuff, it took me a little while to get used to it, but it once I did stuff, it was a great way to wrestle. And, as I said, I had some big matches that I sold out Toreo with Connect, one of my first times in. And then, every place I went, every time I came in, we always had a lot of people filling those seats. So that was one of the things and stuff that I liked so much about wrestling in Mexico is the fans. They were into their wrestling, and I mean, if you were the Technico, everybody loved you. If you were the Rudo, it was a completely different story. So, I mean, I remember there's a little old lady that used to sit ringside in Toreo on Sundays that always brought an umbrella with her, and it had one of those metal tips on it. And I remember any time and stuff that myself or one of my partners and stuff got thrown out in the ring by her, she'd jab us with that little umbrella. So, like I said, Mexico had some of the hottest fans that I think I've ever wrestled in front of throughout my career.
En su paso por México, usted hizo pareja con otro luchador de gran talla, como lo fue Nitrón, y por lo que sabemos, ambos tuvieron una gira por Japón. ¿Podría platicarnos un poco más de cómo fue esta experiencia y si tuvo alguna otra rivalidad en especial que usted recuerde más?
Nitron and I went in as a tag team, to work Japan on a couple of tours. I mean, we had some great matches. Andre the Giant and Giant Baba was a tag team that we worked with. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Terry Gordy, Stan Hansen, Abdullah the Butcher, and again in Japan and stuff, I had a big rivalry with Abdullah in Puerto Rico, so we kind of used that a little bit when we went to wrestle in Japan. As far as Mexico is concerned, my biggest rival and stuff had to be Connect. I wrestled against Connect most nights that I was there, and loved my matches with him and stuff. He was a great guy to wrestle against, and I had a lot of respect from him for, he was a legend, so I really had nothing but respect for him the first time in when I found out that's who I was working against. So, and I got to wrestle against several other guys and with several other guys. I wrestled against Dos Caras a lot, the Villanos, and all those guys and stuff were great wrestlers. And then I got to watch, some great, I guess the Rudos that I worked with. Negro Casas was amazing to have as a tag team partner. We had him as a partner a lot of the time. So I was always impressed with his abilities and his way of being able to work up the people. And so, there's a lot of great wrestlers in Mexico.
México y Japón son países donde la gente no suele ser muy alta. Debido a su altura, ¿usted cree que presentó alguna dificultad o inconveniencia en su estancia en estos países?
Everybody's always wondered throughout my career what it was like when I was like in Mexico or I was in Japan, and where the people and stuff were much smaller than what I was. I never really had much of a problem because I was always a person that could adapt. But I know when we would go to Japan, a lot of times if we were in the small towns, the hotel rooms, the beds weren't big enough for me. So they would always come in with chairs or extra small tables that they put blankets and everything on to make the beds long enough so my legs didn't hang off of the bed so bad. So that was always very appreciative. But other than that, promoters generally always had me in a bigger room. So the beds were bigger, so I didn't really have that problem in many places. But, of course, I started learning Spanish a little bit when I was living in Puerto Rico, and then was getting a little more comfortable trying to speak Spanish a little bit more through my trips to Mexico. So, I mean, I have to appreciate that. But that can be a hard thing for, especially when you're working in foreign countries when you don't speak the language. It's hard to find places to go and, where's the gym and places to go eat, how to order off of a menu. All of those things when you're, like I said, as an American wrestler speaking English, to go into these foreign countries and having to learn a foreign language to get around, or at least learn some phrases to get you through it.
Platícanos un poco de su estilo de lucha. ¿Tiene algún movimiento o algún sello en especial con el cual le gusta terminar con sus rivales?
I always had two finishes. One that I mainly used in Puerto Rico, and so which was just the high boot. It was a very simple thing, but as big as I was, simple moves and stuff can look like something big. Then I pretty well switched to the power bomb. That was my big move that I used in most of the countries that I went to. I used the choke slam some, depending upon the situation, but I would have to say probably the power bomb would have been the one I used the most.
Sabemos que además del personaje de Giant Warrior, usted interpretó a otros personajes en los Estados Unidos. Platíquenos un poco más acerca de esto, por favor.
Well, besides using Giant Warrior, which is probably what I got most known for and used in most countries, I actually started off my first time to Mexico was with CMLL, and I worked as Butch Master, which was a cowboy character. I had worked there for about 6 months and then broke my arm and wasn't able to return when they were getting ready to bring us back. So I was out of wrestling for a little while. And then I had started wrestling in Puerto Rico, where they had changed me from the cowboy character to Giant Warrior. Well, during the time wrestling down there, I became good friends with Monster Ripper. And she was the one who actually started talking to me about going to Mexico and working for Senior Minus's office, UWA. So I called them, and that was how I originally came in, was to that office as Giant Warrior. Then after I left there, I worked in that office and stuff for 2 or 3 years. I had moved to South Africa to work in their wrestling office. And it was during that time, it was a small country, and Giant Warrior had been seen so many times, so we wanted to come up with something that was a little more fresh, something that people haven't seen like they had before. And that was where we came up with the name Big Tiger Steel. I think we had used a story as if that I had gone to the States I took some time off, and I went to the States and wrestled for one of the major American offices, and this is Big Tiger Steel was what they were calling me in the States, so that's what I'm wrestling as now. So probably my last year in South Africa, I was using Tiger Steel. And then from there, I went to Europe, and that's where I really got known as Tiger Steel, more so than Giant Warrior. Nobody ever saw the Giant Warrior gimmick in Europe. It was always Big Tiger Steel. And then toward the end of my career, I had been watching the movie Gladiator and realized that there was, I've never really seen a gladiator character in the wrestling business. With that stuff, I started putting it together, the character, and so then came up with the name Colossus, because of my size, it fit. So some of the latter few years of my career, I wrestled as Colossus the Gladiator stuff, and really enjoyed that. And truthfully, had I thought of that 30 years ago, I probably would have settled into that stuff as a main gimmick, because it was just something people hadn't seen.
¿Actualmente continúa usted como luchador profesional?
Yeah, I wish I still could get in the ring. I mean, I really miss it, but I've been retired since 2017. 30 years in the wrestling business, it took its toll on my body, and it was just time. I was, I wasn't as good of a shape as what I was at one point in my career. I was moving a little bit slower, a lot more aches and pains, and, it was just time for me to retire when I did. So yeah, that was 2017 that I actually retired.
En México tenemos una frase que dice, la lucha libre te da, pero también la lucha libre te quita. ¿Existe algo en la lucha libre que considere que le haya quitado?
Wrestling has given and taken both in my life. I got to meet a lot of great fans, met a lot of really good wrestlers, still stay in touch with a lot of those people, so that's always kind of been a fulfilling thing. But wrestling took its toll on my body. I've had multiple surgeries on my knees. Both shoulders have been operated on. My back's been operated on. My neck's been operated on. So, wrestling took its toll on my body. Now, one of the other reasons I pretty well had to retire and I'm not able to wrestle anymore is because I contracted Parkinson's disease. And my doctors, we've sat and had a lot of conversations, and they said they thought that my years of wrestling is probably what contributed to my Parkinson's that I have now. From all the getting my head run into posts, but all the times I was hit with chairs. The chairs hurt. And you can only be done that so many times. And I'd also had 7 major concussions in my life, 3 of them coming from wrestling. But so now with my Parkinson's, I just, I'm just not able to do it anymore. I don't move very well, so I use a cane most of the time. So if I had to say wrestling took anything away from me, there may be some of the health issues and stuff that I've had, but at the end, I would still, knowing today what happened all those years, I would still do it all over again.
Háblenos un poco de usted en estos días. Sabemos que usted participa en una fundación. ¿Podría platicarnos un poco más acerca de esto?
Today's a lot easier on my body, I guess, than what it was when I was wrestling. My wife and I have a public relations company where we do traditional public relations, social media, press releases, and we also own a publishing company called Clarence Publishing. And with that stuff, we do a lot of ghostwriting. We publish books. We can do the interior layouts, the book covers. So we can do everything basically from somebody's idea to putting it on a shelf or putting it on Amazon. That can all be done going through us. And we're starting a program now, so we're giving wrestlers about a 25% discount on what we would normally charge somebody if they want to write their own books. So, we're working on trying to find a Spanish-speaking person stuff, so we're able to do books coming from Spanish authors, or for us being able to write books in Spanish in the future. We're not there yet, but it's something that we've talked about and we're working on. I also work with people. I became a certified happiness coach and a life coach after when the wrestling was starting to wind down. I wasn't wrestling as much, and this was something that I enjoyed doing. I was doing public speaking, going to schools and talking to kids, and about a lot of the teen issues, bullying, drugs, alcohol, and I enjoyed that. I always said that if I went and spoke anywhere, that if one person out there in the audience could take something away from something I said and it would better their life, and so then my job was complete from being out there. And then our newest venture, which I'm really enjoying, is we've started raising French bulldogs. So that's kind of become one of our new things, is taking care of our little Frenchies, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to that business being able to take up. I'll probably been spending most of my time with the dogs because, like I said, with my Parkinson's, it's hard for me sometimes to follow through on thoughts. I have a hard time sometimes remembering because, along with the Parkinson's disease, they say I also have early onset dementia. So I don't always remember things. There's a lot of stuff from my past I don't remember, so it can be frustrating, but the dogs they're pretty easy and they're a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward for that business to really take off. I also do some things and stuff toward the Parkinson's Foundation and try to make for awareness for that. I do some awareness things for mental illness, and I'm just fortunate that my wife Brittany, she's supports me and stuff and whatever I do, and she's taking great care of me and stuff through all these health problems that I've developed in the last couple of years. And she's one of the smartest people I've ever met, so I think one of the best things I ever did stuff was to marry her.
Las personas que estén interesadas en localizarlo, ya sea sus fans o personas que deseen ayudarlo en esta fundación, ¿en dónde pueden hacerlo?
For fans to be able to contact me, probably the easiest way is that on Facebook I have a Giant Warrior / Big Tiger Steel page, and that's usually the easiest way to reach me. I'm also on Twitter as JWB at large, so that would be JWBATLARGE is what you would find me on Twitter. Instagram is Jeff.Bearden. And then, of course, I have my normal personal page and stuff on Facebook. I don't always accept a lot of people and stuff on that, so it's easier to go through my Giant Warrior page than to go through my personal page.
Quiero agradecerle por su tiempo, señor Jeff, y por compartirnos parte de su vida en esta pequeña entrevista. A nombre de todas las personas que vimos sus encuentros, deseamos darle las gracias por los excelentes encuentros de lucha libre que tuvo usted en México. Usted causó una gran impresión en el público mexicano y aún lo recordamos con mucha alegría, y esperamos algún día poderlo tener de regreso. Y nuevamente, muchas gracias por esta entrevista.
Jose, thank you for having me on the show. I mean, I always enjoy these kind of things because I still like connecting to the fan. If there's anything I miss of stuff about my wrestling career, it was the entertainment part of it, but it's also the fans. Like I said, I've got fans I'm still in contact from all over the world. It's something that's important to me is the fans and stuff. Without the fans and stuff, there wouldn't be a wrestling business. So, I'm always eager to speak with them. So being able to come onto your show and, talk to some of the people in Mexico again, it's a great honor for me to be on your show. I just really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again, and maybe I'll come to Mexico on a fan festival or something in person. But thanks for having me.
Y bien, amigos, Antes de finalizar este video, quiero comentarles que esta figura fue realizada por nuestros amigos de Arte Degradante, a quien como siempre les mandamos un gran saludo y nuestro agradecimiento por este estupendo trabajo. Y en esta ocasión, esta figura no se quedará en mi colección personal, ya que le estaremos haciendo llegar esta figura al señor Jeff Bearden, como agradecimiento por regalarnos un poco de su tiempo en esta entrevista. Y bueno amigos, hasta aquí llegamos con el video de hoy. Si llegaste hasta el final de este video, quiero agradecerte infinitamente por haberlo hecho y espero que les haya gustado este video, ya que como siempre lo hacemos con mucho respeto y pasión a la lucha libre. Mi nombre es Aldrich y esto es The Aldrich Collection. Hasta la próxima.
This time we have Jeff Mayweather and professional wrestler, the Giant Warrior. All right, guys, first question. What city has the best fans?
Ooh, Mexico City.